10 years of bitterness. That's what Hudson carried after the death of his first love. And for 10 years, he made sure Selena bore the weight of it. No matter what she did to earn his affection, he only repaid her with cold disdain. "If you really want to make me happy," he once sneered, "why don't you just die?" Those words cut deep. But in the cruelest twist of fate, when a truck came barreling toward her, it was Hudson who pushed her out of harm's way and took the blow himself. He died in her arms, bleeding out as he looked into her eyes and whispered, "I wish I'd never met you." At the funeral, his mother sobbed uncontrollably, her guilt spilling out in broken cries. "I should have let him be with Julia. I never should have forced him to marry you." His father's glare burned through her. "He saved your life 3 times. He was a good man. Why couldn't it have been you?" Everyone there regretted that Hudson had married Selena. Even she did. They cast her out like a ghost that didn't belong. 3 years later, a strange machine appeared out of nowhere and somehow she was sent back in time. This time, she promised herself she would cut all ties with Hudson. She would give everyone exactly what they wanted. The time machine erupted in a blinding light, and Selena clenched her eyes shut. But just then, she heard that familiar mocking voice echoing through her mind. "My parents threatened suicide just to force me to marry you. Selena, you really are something else. But do you really think marriage will get you anything? You think we'll be happy?" Her eyes snapped open and there he was. Hudson. Alive. Standing right in front of her. Hands stuffed arrogantly into his dress pants, eyes gleaming with unmistakable contempt. In the future, he had been refined and mature, but this version of him, this was the cocky, reckless youth she hadn't seen in so long. Her throat tightened. The machine had truly worked. She was back, but something was off. This wasn't the day they first met. It was their wedding day. Thankfully, it wasn't too late. She still had time to change everything. Swallowing the pain in her chest, she looked at him with quiet resolve. "Hudson, you don't want to marry me because you love Julia, right?" He flinched just for a second. Then his face turned cold. "And what if I do? We're already here at the civil registry. Do you really think there's room for regrets now?" She nodded gently. "Yes, there is." He laughed bitterly. "I don't have time for your stupid mind games. Sign it, take the certificate, and let's get this over with. I'll be waiting outside." Watching his back disappear down the hallway felt like being stabbed through the heart. In both her lives, Selena had loved Hudson for years. He had saved her twice before, even with Julia in the picture. She thought it meant he felt something for her. His parents had even told her once, "Hudson has a soft heart, even if his words are harsh. If he didn't love you, why would he risk everything to save you instead of Julia?" And she believed them. She married him, hopeful. But it wasn't until Julia died that Selena realized his heart had always belonged to someone else. His final words, "I wish I'd never met you," shattered her. 10 years of love, and to him, they were nothing but punishment. Before stepping into the time machine, a monk had told her, to sever the karmic tie between them, she would need to resolve Hudson's 3 greatest regrets. Only then could they both be freed. This time, Hudson wouldn't die at 30 because of her. This time, they would both have the chance to live their own lives. Lowering her head, she wrote Julia's name on the marriage application. She still remembered Hudson's journal entries. "I regret marrying Selena. I regret not standing up to my parents. I regret not saving Julia." Today, at least, she had corrected the first one. With both certificates in hand, she stepped outside. Hudson was waiting by the door. He instinctively reached out to see them, but she gently stopped him. "You can look at it tomorrow," she said sweetly. "I have a surprise for you." He frowned. "You're acting weird. So happy to marry me you've gone crazy." She smiled. "Maybe. After all, I get to see you alive again." Her voice softened. "I think you're the best person in the world. Whoever marries you will be very lucky." He scoffed and turned away. If she didn't know better, she might have thought he was blushing. Nearby, a couple chatted excitedly. "There's a meteor shower tonight. It only happens once every 100 years. They say if you watch it together, you'll stay together forever. Selena's steps slowed. She remembered this exact day in her past life. Back then, she had clung to a foolish hope, dragged Hudson to see the stars, hoping he'd fall for her. All she got in return was a cold, sarcastic remark. Watching stars makes a couple stronger? If that's true, then unhappy marriages wouldn't exist. Keep dreaming. This time, she had no such dreams. But then Hudson spoke. If you want to see the stars, I can go with you. But don't expect a honeymoon. I'm busy. She blinked. She hadn't expected that. Then she understood. His words were always cruel, but his heart had always been kind. Otherwise, why would he risk his life for her not once, not twice, but 3 times? The first was when they were 18. She was attacked in an alley. He jumped in front of her and took a blade to his right arm, ending his dream of becoming a pianist. The second was during an earthquake. Trapped under rubble, he gave her all the food and water and comforted her with lies until rescue came. He would have died otherwise. The third time, a truck came at full speed. He held her tightly, shielding her. A shard of glass pierced the back of his skull. She walked away with barely a scratch. He didn't. 3 times he chose her. How could she possibly stop loving him? So, Hudson said impatiently, are we going to see the meteor shower or not? Snapping out of her thoughts, she smiled. Yes. Let's watch the stars tonight. Hudson relaxed and flagged a taxi. I'll take you home first. I'll come pick you up later for the observatory. Just then, his phone rang. He answered, and his expression darkened. Julia hurt her hand. I'm going to check on her. Go home on your own. She nodded. All right. He blinked, almost surprised. Didn't you used to get mad whenever I went to see her? What's changed? Selena opened her mouth to reply, but before she could say a word, he let out a cold laugh. Of course we're married now, aren't we? Julia doesn't pose a threat anymore. Let me know when you get home. Hudson got into the car and drove off without once looking back, missing the sorrow and the bitter smile in Selena's eyes. The truth was, she had never tried to stop him from loving Julia. But once, long ago, she and Hudson's parents had stumbled upon Julia kissing a much older man. After some digging, they discovered she had been kept by several wealthy men. That was when Selena began doing everything in her power to keep Hudson away from Julia. But he never knew. After Julia's death, he mourned her for 10 years. If she had to choose, Selena would have rather seen him with Julia than watch him drown in guilt and die because of her. Guilt and regret they could crush a person. She sighed, picked up her special admission letter from the university, and returned home. Hudson's parents had prepared a feast. His mother greeted her with joy, grabbing her hands. Selena, you're back. Do you have the marriage certificate? Why didn't Hudson come with you? He had urgent work at the office, she replied. His mother frowned. That boy, it's such an important day. How could he not take a few hours off? His father chuckled. A man focusing on his career isn't a bad thing. They're married now. They'll have time for family dinners later. His mother scoffed in annoyance. The warmth of their interaction made Selena's eyes sting. She took a deep breath. Uncle, Auntie, we didn't get married. I've finalized my paperwork to study abroad. I'll be leaving the country in a few days. Hudson's mother stared in shock. What do you mean you didn't marry? Did Hudson do something to you? That boy's all talk cares about you. He really does. You studied psychology just to help him. You stayed by his side day and night. We saw how sincere you were. You love each other. You should be together. And you know Julia wasn't a good person. We can't let her win. Hudson's father jumped in. He's just stubborn. Once you're married, he'll change. You'll see. Selena had heard it all before. And in the end, that insistence had only brought pain and regret. She gently held Hudson's mother's hand and spoke softly. Please just hear me out. I know it's hard, but forcing something will never make it right. Hudson, he never loved me. Last night, I had a dream. We got married, but he couldn't stand to look at me. He buried himself in work until he developed stomach ulcers. He wouldn't even eat the soup I made. Even when he got sick, he wouldn't let me care for him. He said the pain I caused outweighed any happiness. And when he turned 30, he died saving me from a truck. The ache in her chest nearly choked her. Hudson's mother was frozen in place. Selena, that was just a dream. Hudson wouldn't, Selena forced a smile. Auntie, sometimes dreams are warnings.
He doesn't have to marry me.
We don't have to be together. I just want him to live a long and happy life. It all made sense now. Hudson loved music, not business. He hated being told what path to follow. If he hadn't hurt his hand, he never would have ended up here. And if not for family pressure, he never would have agreed to marry her. It all started with her. It was her fault. And she refused to make the same mistake again. Everything's ready for my trip. I'll always be grateful for his kindness. And I'll always care for you, as if you were my own parents. Hudson's mother wiped away a tear. You're a good girl. It's Hudson's loss not to marry you. Selena hugged her tightly, eyes filled with tears. I don't need to be your daughter-in-law. I can be your daughter. And when the time comes, I'll take care of you both the way Julia would have. They both smiled through their tears and gave her their blessing. Selena remembered Hudson's second regret from his journal. Maybe, just maybe, it had now been fulfilled. The time machine only gave her 36 hours. Now, only one regret remained. Could she complete it? At nightfall, she arrived alone at the observatory, the perfect place to watch the meteor shower. She leaned against the railing, holding on to a quiet hope. She didn't know how long she waited until the door behind her slammed open. She turned around, her eyes lighting up. Hudson. You came, but his expression was dark, eyes burning with fury. In a few strides, he stood right in front of her. Selena, just because I didn't drive you home and went to see Julia, you ran crying to my parents? Do you have any idea what you've done? They called her, yelled at her, and she was so shaken, she walked into the street without looking. She was hit by a car. She's bleeding out. She could die. Are you happy now? Chapter 2. Selena stood frozen. In her past life, Julia had also bled out after a car accident and died because the hospital hadn't received blood in time. After that, whatever coldness Hudson had shown her turned into real, burning hatred. But back then, it happened a month after the wedding. Why was it happening so early this time? She had been searching for a way to fulfill Hudson's third regret, and fate had just dropped it into her lap. She looked at him. So, you want me to donate blood for her? Hudson let out a bitter, furious laugh. You think I wouldn't ask? This is the least you owe her. He grabbed her wrist and dragged her to the hospital. She barely had time to think before she was lying on a cot with a needle in her arm, giving 400 cubic centimeters of blood. Her body felt drained, her strength fading fast. It's not enough, one nurse murmured. Even if we get more from the blood bank, it'll take at least 10 minutes. We don't know if she'll make it that long. Selena looked at Hudson, who stood frozen, eyes locked on Julia's pale face on the stretcher, anguish carved into every line of his face. A nurse reached to remove Selena's but she stopped her with a gentle hand. Please take another 400 cubic centimeters. The nurse's eyes widened.
No.
The maximum is 400. It's too dangerous. Selena smiled faintly. I'll be fine. What matters is saving her. Just then, a doctor rushed out of the emergency room. Still not enough blood. Hurry. The patient is crashing. Selena insisted again. This time, the nurse looked at her with deep gratitude. You have a kind heart, miss. When she wakes up, I'm sure she'll thank you. Hudson opened his mouth. Selena, I'll repay you, he added, voice hoarse. As the needle pierced her skin again, she gave him a weak smile. There's no need. I'm doing this because I want to. He saved me 3 times. Protecting the woman he loves, it's nothing. But she had underestimated the cost. The world spun. And then everything went black. When Selena opened her eyes, she was lying in a hospital bed. The area on her arm where the needle had gone in was already bandaged. Hudson wasn't there. Nurses and doctors bustled around, too busy to notice she was awake. She turned her gaze to the clock on the wall. Only 1 hour left before she would return to the past. On the small television mounted near the ceiling, the news was replaying footage of last night's meteor shower. It was breathtaking. And once again, she had missed it. Of course. Her wishes never came true. Staring at nothing, she sat quietly until footsteps echoed in the hallway. Then she heard Hudson's tired but relieved voice. "You're awake."
Julia is too.
"It's all thanks to the blood you donated last night." She turned to him. "That's good." Seeing how pale she was, he froze mid-step, then awkwardly muttered, "Thanks for what you did. And I'm sorry for what I said yesterday. But you shouldn't have gone crying to my parents. Julia has nothing to do with us." His words settled like lead in her chest. He always misunderstood her. 10 years ago, she probably would have argued back with tears in her eyes, desperate to explain. But now this was goodbye. Whether he understood her or not no longer mattered. Then Hudson spoke again. "I promised I'd watch the meteor shower with you. I didn't keep that promise. I also remember you once said you wanted to visit Dolly. Let's go together in a few days. I'll take you." She blinked, surprised he still remembered.
But she shook her head gently.
"There's no need." For once, Hudson wasn't sarcastic. He pulled out his phone and booked the flights anyway. "I know you're mad, but it's done. Once you're better, we'll go on our honeymoon." "There's no need, Hudson," she repeated. He looked confused, but she spoke calmly. "We don't have to force things. And you don't owe me anything. If anything, I'm the one who owed you." The words were for him and for herself. He frowned. "What are you talking about?" She didn't answer. Silence filled the room. Hudson turned to pour her a glass of warm water. She watched his hand tremble slightly, probably because of the cold weather. His old injury must have been acting up again. Memories surged up like waves crashing into her chest. "Do you regret what happened to your hand from saving me?" she asked softly. Hudson lowered his head and placed the glass beside her. His bangs hid his eyes.
"No."
"Even if it were someone else, I still would have saved them." "Even during the earthquake?" she asked again. His fingers twitched. Then he nodded.
"Yes."
"I would have saved anyone." That was Hudson, harsh on the outside, soft at the core. Kind even when it hurt him. She smiled through the tears that now spilled down her cheeks. "Thank you, Hudson. You really are a good man. And I was the one who clung to your kindness and turned it into obsession. I held on for so many years. You must have been so tired of me. Such a good man, and I made you suffer for 10 whole years. In the end, you even died for me. I was your calamity." Hudson looked flustered, seeing her cry. "What are you saying?" At that moment, his secretary burst into the room. "Sir, Miss Julia just woke up." "I'll go see her," Hudson said immediately, his voice filled with joy. He turned to leave, but Selina called his name gently. He paused. She gave him her brightest smile. "Goodbye, Hudson. I wish you peace, joy, and may all your dreams come true." He froze. Something wasn't right. "Why do you sound like you're saying goodbye?" "I'm just going to see Julia. I have something to tell you. Wait for me." And he rushed off. Less than 30 minutes remained before Selina would return to the past. She quietly removed the 4 needle from her arm and slipped out of the hospital alone. Not long after, Hudson returned, carrying a bag full of soup and tonics. He entered the room only to find it empty. "Selina," he called out, glancing around. No answer. A sense of dread squeezed his chest. He reached for his phone to call her just as his secretary ran in, gasping. "Sir, there's a problem," she panted, panic in her voice. 10 minutes ago, Miss Selina was in an accident. She lost a lot of blood. And today the blood bank is in emergency mode. Her voice cracked. Miss Selina, she passed away after resuscitation failed. Chapter 3. The thermos slipped from Hudson's hands and shattered on the floor. Soup spilled everywhere. Then came his howl of disbelief. What did you say? It felt like someone had driven a steel rod through his chest. Pain exploded inside him. He tried to stay upright, but his knees buckled. His assistant barely caught him in time.
Where is she?
Take me to her now, he shouted. The assistant rushed him to a hospital room. Hudson shoved the door open. Wait, sir. You can't go in yet. Nurses tried to stop him, but he pushed past them and stormed to the bed. With trembling hands, he lifted the white sheet covering the face, then froze. That's not Selina. A nurse rushed in, her face flushed with embarrassment. No, sir, this woman just shares the same name. She came to donate blood today, too. After Miss Julia's accident, the news spread quickly. A lot of people came to donate. It's not uncommon for named duplicates. Hudson stood in place for a few seconds, stunned. Then, with quiet reverence, he covered the woman's face again.
I'm sorry.
I overreacted. I caused a disturbance. Outside the room, his assistant wiped his sweaty palms in shame. I'm sorry, sir. I panicked. I didn't check before telling you. It's all right. Just be more careful next time. Hudson let out a silent sigh and discreetly wiped his hands. Thank God it was just a misunderstanding. The assistant quickly added, I just checked. Miss Selina went home a while ago. Hudson nodded and bolted out of the hospital. The moment he stepped into the house and saw the anxious faces of his parents, a chill ran down his spine. His mother's voice trembled through her tears. Selina came home, lay down in bed, and hasn't woken up since. No matter how much we call her, she doesn't respond. A buzzing sound filled Hudson's head. His first thought, excessive blood loss.
But there was no time for that now.
He raced to her room. When he saw her lying there, so pale, fear gripped him like never before. He remembered the things she had said before collapsing, like a farewell or maybe a confession. A storm of emotions swirled inside him. The truth was, he had never truly hated her. What he hated was the life his parents had forced on him. Hudson finally understood. The bitterness he'd carried all those years had been pointless, and the only person he ever truly hurt was the one who stood by him through it all. As he watched Selina lying there so still, he made a silent promise. When you wake up, I'll tell you everything. I'll ask for your forgiveness. He stepped out of the room, finding his mother already composed, her tears wiped away. His father cleared his throat and asked cautiously, I heard Julia had an accident. What happened exactly? The mention of it made Hudson frown, his tone sharpening with restrained anger. After Selina complained to you, you called Julia to scold her, and that's what distracted her when crossing the street. That's how she got hit. His mother let out a cold laugh. That which I knew she wasn't to be trusted. Trying to stir up trouble again, huh? Good thing I saved a backup. She pulled out her phone, tapped the screen, and played a recording. Julia's voice filled the room, dripping with arrogance and venom. Andy, do you really think forcing Hudson to marry Selina will make him fall in love with her? One little lie, a few crocodile tears, and he runs after me like a puppy. He believes every word I say. I'm the only one he'll ever love. He'll hang on to me for the rest of his life, and I like it. But honestly, I'd rather chase some new excitement with other guys. Hudson's just my backup plan. The recording caught Hudson's mother exploding with fury. Shameless. Aren't you afraid heaven will strike you down? Julia laughed disdainfully and the audio ended. Hudson stood speechless. That woman wasn't the Julia he thought he knew. His mother placed a firm hand on his shoulder. I don't know what spell she cast on you, but she's a manipulator. Sweet in public, poisonous in private. That's who she really is. Selina, on the other hand, is a good girl. She knew the truth about Julia all along and never said a word. Even when you mistreated her, even when Julia humiliated her, Selina never hurt you. In fact, she protected you quietly, always. She looked into his eyes. I wanted you two to marry. But now that she's leaving the country to study, we have to respect her choice. With every word, Hudson's face paled, until the last sentence hit him like a punch to the chest. Study abroad? His voice cracked. What is she studying? His mother blinked, surprised. You didn't know? Selena said she's leaving the country soon. She didn't want to hold you back, so she canceled the wedding. That's impossible, Hudson shouted. We already have the marriage certificate. Then he remembered what she had said just yesterday. Check it tomorrow. It's a surprise. His hands trembling, he pulled the document from his pocket and unfolded it. There it was. The bride's name, Julia. His grip weakened. The paper slipped, and tears dripped down, blurring the official red stamp. It felt like someone had carved out his heart with a dull spoon. He threw the certificate in the trash, turned, and rushed into Selena's room. He dropped to his knees by her bed and gently held her hand. The tears that had built up finally spilled over. So I've been blind all this time, he whispered. In the end, the only person who was ever sincere with me was you. Now I see it. From the very beginning, the one I truly loved was you. His voice broke as he lowered his head to her bedside, overcome with emotion. After a long moment, he stood, tucked the blanket gently around her, and with eyes red from crying whispered, Selena, when you wake up, I'll tell you everything. I'll look you in the eyes, and from that moment on, I'll protect you for the rest of my life. Chapter 4. From the moment she left the hospital, Selena felt a strange, unshakable pull urging her to run home. Only when she collapsed onto her bed did she finally release the tension in her body. She knew it instantly. The time machine had reached the end of its countdown. When she opened her eyes again, she instinctively leaned against the wall, pressing her temples as a wave of memories crashed through her. 10 years ago, after being unconscious at home for a full day and night, she awoke and Hudson, unexpectedly, confessed his feelings with a sincerity she'd never seen before. But by then, after loving him for so long, her heart had grown numb. She turned him down firmly and left for her studies abroad. For the next 10 years, she threw herself into her education and career. Her life was calm, fulfilling. When she returned home, she secured a position as a professor at a prestigious university in her home country. Meanwhile, the day after Hudson realized something was off with the marriage certificate, he went to the civil registry and filed for divorce. That surprised her. But thankfully, it didn't interfere with her current timeline. She let out a quiet sigh of relief. Over the last 10 years, Hudson never argued with her like he used to. The stomach ulcers he once had from stress never returned. He was no longer the indifferent, sarcastic young man she'd once known. Now he was mature, steady like an older brother who had quietly been watching over her all these years. As she sorted through her memories, she felt a light tap on her shoulder. Professor Selena, your phone's been ringing for a while. Would you like me to answer it for you? A student offered kindly, handing her the phone. Snapping back to the present, Selena smiled warmly and took the call. It was her mother. Selena, today's Hudson's 33rd birthday. Will you come to dinner with us? Hearing the number 33 made her heart skip a beat. But she quickly realized the fateful year had already passed. She exhaled and replied with a smile. Of course. I'll be there. That evening, when she arrived home, her parents had prepared a table full of her favorite dishes. As always, Hudson's mother wiped her hands on her apron and pulled Selena into a warm hug. Selena, welcome home. The familiar scene, so warm and full of love, brought tears to her eyes. This time, no one blamed her for Hudson's death. Everything had returned to normal. Seeing her cry, Hudson's mother chuckled. Oh, sweetheart, you've been gone so long. You're crying just from coming home? Gently wiping her tears, she smiled. For the first time in years, the tightness in Selena's chest finally eased. During dinner, she finally learned the truth behind Julia's accident. Yes, it was a setup, Hudson's mother explained. The culprit was her ex-boyfriend. He'd been pretending to be rich, and when she found out and dumped him, he couldn't take it. He caused the accident on purpose. Then she spat on the ground with contempt. What you sow is what you reap. Julia had survived, yes, but her life was now a complete mess. Word had spread about her latest scandal. She tried to become a married man's mistress and was caught and beaten by his furious wife. Now, people pointed at her on the streets, whispered behind her back. I let out a soft sigh and found myself agreeing entirely with what Hudson's father said earlier. Karma is real. Good or bad, what you give eventually comes back. Just then, the doorbell rang. I opened it and found Hudson standing there, eyes warm, smile gentle. It's been a while, Selena. His face sparked a memory in me, something I'd nearly forgotten. Just a week ago, the university announced that faculty members might be selected for a prestigious research institute, one I'd always dreamed of joining. As the most promising young professor in the department, I had naturally made the preliminary list. But days before the final results, a new rule came out disqualifying candidates under a certain age. I had mentioned the disappointment casually to Hudson, never thinking he'd remember. But when the final list was released, to my surprise, my name was still on it. I met Hudson at a cafe and asked him directly, "Did you have anything to do with this? What did it cost you?" He simply said, "I gave up a small share of my company stock. It's no big deal. You deserve it." I nearly laughed. How can that not be a big deal? He probably didn't even ask his board for permission. "It doesn't matter," he said. "None of that matters. As long as you're happy, that's all I care about. You're the most important person to me." Most important? I looked at him, speechless, and saw his ears turn red. He cleared his throat nervously. "I saw you liked a photo of a flower field. So, I planned something special tonight. A surprise." "I thought you'd like it, Hudson," I interrupted quietly. He noticed the change in my voice and rushed to explain. "You don't like flower fields?"
I'm sorry.
"I can change it. What do you prefer? Fireworks? A fountain? Just say the word." He was clearly flustered. That nervous, eager look on his face reminded me of myself, once upon a time. "What I mean is," I took a breath. "You don't have to do all this for me. We're not going to be a couple."
Not now.
"Not ever." Hudson's gaze fell. Still, a touch of pride colored his voice. "You used to love me so much. I was the one who didn't see it. But I can't accept this. Selena, you loved me that deeply. How can it all just vanish? Look me in the eye and tell Mado you really feel nothing for me now." He grasped my shoulders, searching my eyes desperately for an answer. "Do I feel nothing?" I slowly closed my eyes.
How could I feel nothing?
But whatever remained of that love, it wasn't strong enough to last a lifetime. That deep, devoted love I had once given him, it had been used up completely over those 10 exhausting years. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "There's no chance for us anymore." Hudson looked down, crushed. But after a moment, he raised his head and gave me a gentle smile. "That's all right. It doesn't matter. Being your big brother, that's still a kind of happiness." His mother's voice snapped me back to the present. We were all sitting around a square table, one on each side. Out of the corner of my eye, I glanced at Hudson. Compared to the 33-year-old version of him from the life I'd once known, the man before me radiated maturity and calm warmth. A pang of emotion twisted in my chest, along with a surreal sense of peace. He was alive. Everything had changed. Hudson's father lifted his glass with a smile. "Selena, why don't you say a few words for Hudson's birthday?" I shook off my thoughts and returned his smile. Raising my glass, I looked at Hudson. "I wish you peace and happiness from this day forward, a life without sorrow, and may all your dreams come true." Hudson paused, surprised. Then he smiled, clinking his glass with mine. "Same to you, Selena. I promise I'll be a good brother to you and take care of you for the rest of my life." Between toasts and laughter, the love I had held onto for over a decade melted quietly like snow under the sun. The dinner was warm, the conversation light. The 3 knots of fate had been untied, and the weight that had long pressed on my chest finally vanished. From now on, may life be calm, safe, and full of joy.